Hello, I'm Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. With me, I have a very interesting gentleman. Over the years, you've seen him many times here on Oral Gibbs Live. Now he's back in a unique capacity because now he's a politician. And when you're a politician, well, you know what happens in Oral Gibbs Live. We treat you nice. Don't worry about that. My guest is Mr. Mark Mingo. How you doing, Mr. Mingo?
Hi, Mr. Gibbs. Welcome. I'm glad to be on board again on your show again. Yeah, maybe this time in a bit of a different capacity. To be a politician. So, I'm ready here. Let's go.
So how it feels to be a politician now?
Well, Oral, it's a all new. It's. I mean, my dad was a politician, so I know how it was, but it's a total different experience. It's different. You not only deal with issues at hand, but you also deal with people. When you deal with people, that becomes very not only tricky, but you also have to listen. And one of the most difficult things to do as a human being or as a person is to listen to people. And nowadays in difficult times, it's not only listening to good things, but you also listen to a lot of challenging things from what's going on out there.
Your dad was a very honest politician. Been on this program many, many times before he became a politician. And he was at one time Minister of Finance.
Yeah, that's correct. He was Minister of Finance for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think at that time the central government dropped or the support was not there anymore. And then he came back to St. Martin. So yes, my dad was a very honest politician. I call it more not only honest, because that's one of the criteria you need to really represent people. But I think he also was very straightforward like yourself. It was very black and white. And then what I've learned over the years, and that's where I differ a bit from my dad, is I do look at, consensus and trying to understand the why. So, you have to understand the why and try to figure out what's the best answer. And that is actually the challenge, is what do you answer and not give empty promises.
You're a little bit more diplomatic that way, right?
Well, you learn. I also learned from yourself, Mr. Gibbs, and from my dad, but also from many others who, who tell me, listen, you're not CEO anymore of what you're doing or from a company. You are actually going into the political arena. And political arena means you're dealing with people, you're dealing with issues, and usually you're dealing with a lot of challenging issues as we speak today.
And that's where the problems sometimes come in. I remember the day your father was no longer Minister of Finance. He called me, and he said on the phone to me, he said, "Oral boy, this is a pressure off of my back." He was so relieved. Now, I've never heard someone pick up the phone, call me and say, "Look, I'm so happy to get out of this job." Here you have a man who loves Simran, who cared about Simran. Anybody can go to your father and ask him for advice. He would gladly give it to them. He went into politics, became Minister of Finance, and saw how politics, when you're supposed to help people, at the same time, there are all these different forces there trying to pull you left, right, and center, and it's unfortunate.
Well, Oral and that's what I'm getting to. I mean, you look. I went to him a few times to Curacao as well because at that time I knew a lot about IT and computers were new for him. So we went on ALM and I used to go to his office and help him. And what I noticed and what was so strange is that on Curacao. He was really accepted and respected very well on Curacao. But on St. Martin is where the issue started. And I think on St. Martin, that is what he was struggling with. That is how basically he I don't know if he resigned or actually he stepped down from the position. But that's one of the reasons what happened. And that is where I'm at today. And people ask me, but Mark, if your dad went through difficult times that I'm in politics, why are you going in politics? Listen. And the question I started to think, I said, look, I'm going to politics for two reasons. Number one, for me, it's very important that I carry that legacy forward from my dad, what he wanted for St. Martin. And secondly, what we're missing right now, and you're an example of that to all the frustration you've been going through, Oral. And not only Oral yourself, but a lot of other people who have been here and contributed a long time. You still need a technocrat to fix the issues we have now in government. And that is something where I think I can make a difference. You all know as well, or you know as well, that I've chosen for the UP platform. I never changed from a political party, the UP party. And I believe in that platform I can make that difference. We will not always agree on all the candidates, or maybe the leader, or not the leader, or whatever. But for me, it's very important that I choose the right platform, which is the UP platform, which I was a member of since its inauguration.
But the party has changed. I mean, the founder of that party and his wife, I don't know, are they still supporting the party? I mean, maybe I shouldn't ask you that question, but
Well, I have answered that on several shows before. Look, I was one of I was from the beginning. I was there with my dad. My dad was a UP member. He left DP. He became a UP member. And to answer your question is that yes, the founder's wife has left the party, has joined the DP party. That's Grisha Martin Heilige Martin. But the philosophy of the party is still there.
okay.
And Oral, that is something I don't want to spend too much time on that, but the choice for me is the reason I chose the UP party is that the platform, which in essence is developing the economy, which everybody can contribute from, that it trickles down. That philosophy is still there. Of course, we have to rebuild the party. One of the reasons I actually came on board and I got so much support from the leader, Emperor Rolando Bryson, and the rest of the board, is that I can fit that to rebuild that party in that sense. So yes, the founder's wife is not there anymore, but the party is still much existence when you talk about the philosophy and the platform of the party.
All right. So, I've heard a lot of workers at the Port of St. Martin speak very well of you. It's very difficult at times to find workers speak well of their boss. And you now enter into politics, so a whole different ball game. We discussed that just a while ago about your father, etc. But when it comes to the UP party, right, the party that a lot of people thought really was the party for St. Martin, and you see now what has happened. You're gonna have a uphill battle, you think, in just trying to convince people that, hey, look, the guy who formed this party, Theo, is no longer there. They seem like the guy who's now running the party as head of the party, there are many questions about him. And when there are many questions about a leader, that's very crucial to a political party.
Yeah, so let me answer. How should I answer? First, on of course, the employees of the port. I always try to wish them well. We have very good employees at the port. Even I think about 50% of the employees at the port are women. I only call them the ladies of the harbor. But coming back to your question about the party itself and the leadership. Look, the leadership of a party can change. Things can happen. You see that not only in St. Martin or outside of St. Martin, the leadership can change. You may not always agree on leadership change, but of course a party is not a party alone by its leader. There's a board, there are members, and we also must be fair. Look, we also must give the new leader of the UB party a chance, meaning that I think he just run his first term. He said he's running a second term in his last term. He said that publicly as well. And I met with MP Rolando Bryson. I sat with him before I made the decision to stay with the UP party. We had many discussions, and I think it clicked. I think what the issue is and challenge is of course there's a certain track record the founder had. Let's be honest. Theo Heilige had a certain track record with the development of St. Martin, but after the developments of all those projects, there also came a lot of challenges. And that is where we are at today, is even with the UP party, is rebuilding the party, but to me, UP party is still the new generation party. And then Oral, you have kids, I have kids, you gotta have patience with any new generation party which is coming. For example, I'm 51. I have a lot of experience. I think I'm one of the oldest in the party, but I also bring stability and experience in our party. And I would not be sitting here in your show and sharing with you, listen, that everything is all well, that everything is like how it used to be. No, the party is in a change. And the same thing as where you see St. Martin is coming to its crossroads, you need to have those changes as well in government.
Okay.
And then you ask me, and I've said it on many shows before, do I believe that the government right now is functioning optimally? I'm going to tell you no. And the reason why I do believe, and you know my position, you know my dad's position, I still believe you need to have a philosophy where you look at economic contribution, but also economic growth. And that is where it begins, and that's where it ends.
All right, in case you've just joined us, I'm Earl Gibbs here on Earl Gibbs Live. My guest is Mr. Mark Mingo. He is a new politician now, a member of the UP Party, and we're here speaking with him on Hot 99.9 FM radio station and YouTube, Facebook, and it's good to have you on board with us here speaking with Mr. Mark Mingo of the UP Party. You know, Mr. Mingo, being in government, it's sometimes so difficult to get things to move. The culture, the political culture of government in St. Martin is like so unique when you compare it to other places. And it's controlled by a group of families. And you're either a member of the tribe or you're not a member of the tribe. And outsiders can come in, but they really have to know their place. And I'm being a little evasive now when I speak about that. But that creates a problem because St. Martin, don't fool yourself. Both French and Dutch side, it's controlled by a group of families.
Oh, well, that's correct. I mean, I'm no stranger in this arena. Let's be honest, I've been CEO of the port for 17 years. My shareholder was government, by de facto politicians. I remember the years from 2012 when the founder, Theo Heiliger, got out of government. And then we had a minister every year from 2012. So you imagine there was a change in policy every year for the harbor. But I still survived. And it basically means you do have to have the skills to deal with those elements. Yes, there are families which control businesses or which have interests on the island, both Dutch side and French side. But there are also, for example, new generation family members. For example, Minister Otley. He is a family member of the previous minister or parliament member, Frankie Myers. And those changes you're seeing those changes are happening. But of course, there are always interest. There's always, you have to be realistic. I heard certain politicians come on your show saying that, they're going to change things, 20-30% change. You're smiling, I'm smiling. Listen, let's start with basics. Let's start first with seeing who the players are, and let's sit with those players and make sure that we identify the issues at hand. You have to start with that. Yeah. Once you start with the identification with those stakeholders, don't try and avoid the stakeholders and play games with the stakeholders, because they're going to come back to you. They're going to come back to you.
And you understand how important they are.
Yes, and trust, Oral, is a very important element with those families. I've been through it all. I've been called all kind of names, and that why I joined the UP, and why then I went back DP, and why then join another party, some new party. No, I did a 3-month sit down with all the parties, and I came to the conclusion that it will not make a difference with what party I chose, and I decided to stay with where I started, was with the UP party. And that has to do with a platform, because there are only 2 platforms on St. Martin, Oral. There is the economic platform and there is the social platform. Let's be honest. In the old days, that was what? SPA versus DP, or DP versus SPA. And today we're a bit confused because we got a lot of fragmentation. So I still see it as UPNE. And everybody going to jump at me now by saying that. But we have to also confirm there are 2 political platforms on St. Martin. There's the economic part of it, and there is the social part of it. And if you bring those 2 together in whatever coalition, it still is going to take a lot of work, because you said it. A lot of the interests on St. Martin are by certain groups and certain families. So the person who's going to make that change is going to be somebody who's respected also by those families and by those interest groups.
I think when you look at your track record as CEO, at the port of St. Martin, you did a remarkable job. But at the same time, now, I don't think I ever told you this, but at the same time, privately, Theo always wanted to convince people that everything happened there and all the ideas were his and not yours. There was this kind of competition.
Well,
maybe not with you, but with him, definitely.
Well, Oral, I have to laugh because you're right, because the cruise executives and the cargo executives used to call Theo Heilig and myself the twins. I think even in a court case I was in, which I got out of court case and was fully acquitted, in that dossier we were called the twins. They were witnessing we were called the twins. We were the twins, but we were the twins respectful. Theo Heilig was a politician, I was an executive. Today, as I'm speaking to you, I am actually going to be a politician. And then you also have other executives. So that role play has changed. I stay above that. To me, everything we do in life is a team effort. Your success is based because you have a very strong wife backing you. It's a team effort. How I see it, if I get elected, I see it as a team effort. It basically means I will sit with anybody, just like a CEO, I will sit with anybody who likes me or doesn't like me and come to a consensus or come to a solution where we can have progress in the issues at hand. So, Oral, I understand. Look, everybody said that, but why, Mark Mingo, why haven't you always pound on your chest and say, oh, you did this, you built that? No, that was not my role. My role, I was hired to execute. I got the ideas. We sat with government. I sat with Mr. Heiliger. We looked at the ideas, we traveled to the cruise lines, cargo lines, and we executed. And he, of course, silently is going to tell you, yeah, but Mark Mingo was the best CEO ever. But he's not going to ever tell me that or you that. But we had that great teamwork. And then I'm going to be very frank to you. I'm going to be very frank to your listeners. And I'm hearing it on the road as well. Mr. Helge is going through his challenges. I wish him a lot of luck. I've been through it. I know it's very difficult. But on election day, you're going to come to a crossroad and you're going to ask yourself, but who can really bring this country and deal with the challenges of St. Martin? And then I leave that answer up to the listeners. I'm not going to say it, but I know where the issues were created. I know how the issues and challenges were created in the economy. So I can also come with the solutions for those challenges of St. Martin. And then you come to the discussion here, but what are the social problems? How are you going to deal with all the social problems? End of the day, whatever research you do, it begins and ends with a robust economy that everybody contributes, but that also everybody benefits. And that's the issue we have in St. Martin now. The people who are given their energy, not all of them are benefiting enough or getting the opportunities in the economy. And that's the issue.
Mr. Mingo, I had Mr. Kit Franca here on Chatting with OG. That's a new program on our radio station, Hot 99.9 FM.
Yes.
And he said something about you. It was good. He said, Mark Mingo was responsible for tropical shipping and all that. Is that true?
If I was what?
You were responsible for bringing tropical shipping with that whole shipment of containers, etc.
Well, yeah. We were discussing. Look, we were discussing business development at that time, and I think one of the issues around tropical shipping was also the provisioning of cruise ships with tropical shipping, and tropical shipping is one of the shipping lines in the Caribbean, which brings that cargo to the port. For your listeners to understand, the harbor plays a very important role in attracting cargo carriers, but you also must understand that most of the cargo carriers have their own agents. What we did with tropical shipping is we came to agreement on volumes, just like we did with the cruise lines. We came to agreement with the volumes of containers and with the transshipment of containers.
You see, you played a vital role in all of that the other time.
Well, yes and no. What I would say, the team played a vital role. So Mr. Frank at that time, I think, was the chief operating officer at the port for Simon Port Authority, or also the director when Mr. Rommel Charles left. And of course, at that time, Mr. Helge was also the minister or MP in that. So that was a team effort. And I can remember, Oral, we to even have those discussions not only with tropical shipping but also with CGM, because these vessels increased in sizes. Remember, there was a big vessel. We went from 500 to 600 TUs, containers, to 2,500 container vessels. And if we didn't develop the port today, we wouldn't be able to accommodate to those vessels. And you remember also too that the crane company was very, very important. The crane company, we bought that back as harbor. And then I think a few months ago, there was a female crane operator. I think you read in the media. But we also brought it back because we needed one solution for the port. So yeah, I was very, let's put it this way, I was very dedicated to the port. When I start something, I will always give 300%. To some of your listeners, they said I started too early with campaigning, profiling myself. I have one answer to them. If they know Mark Mingo, if I start something, I'm going to end it 300%. I'm going to give it my all.
You know, look, I'm tough on politicians, very, very tough on politicians. It might appear I'm not being tough on you. But, you know, as time goes along, I'll ask you those difficult questions that I don't think now is the time. What I think is that when you look at your record as a person and what you've done in terms of hiring the right people, you look at the port of St. Martin today, from the CEO down, a lot of these people were brought in by you. You had an eye for our people, getting them into the right position. You didn't go running around all over the region and the world looking for all kinds of Tom, Dick, and Harry to do the job. And I think that's what's important. That's what people admire about you.
You know, Oral, I don't really like to talk about it, but look, it's very simple.
Hey, blow your horn, boy, because that's politics.
Yeah.
Real
leaders build leaders. You can say what you want about me. You can say what you want about the port. The port is run by local St. Martiners. Over the years I've been there, I've hired locals. We have also discussed developing the skills of the locals. And not all of them came out, by the way, out of the maritime industry. Mr. Roger Lawrence came out of the alcohol industry. But I saw his talents, I saw his heart. So when you ask me, do we have the right resources on St. Martin? Do we have the right people on St. Martin to run our companies and develop our companies? Yes, we have. But you also must take the time out to develop your human resources.
But there's a problem there, Mr. Mingo. There's a problem there. You're now a politician. And if you are elected and go into political office, the government of St. Martin is just opposite to everything you did at the port.
Well, that is maybe then I'm the right candidate to look at that and to make changes where changes to be met. We're going to use the port as the right model to look at the other government-owned companies. And you asked me about how I'm going to get that done. I discussed that in detail also with MP Rolando Bryce. I said I am looking at that committee which looks at the policies of all government-owned entities. And what we have today, we have a Lone Ranger type of effect with government-owned companies that everybody has a strategic plan, but nothing is connected with each other. Have you ever read or saw any let's say press releases or communication by central committees when it concerns to strategic planning? I think the harbor is the only one who does that. But that is one. Presenting a plan is one. But also is what you said, when you internally are there, you have to also be able to have the skills. And then you ask me, but how am I going to get that change? And number one, I'm a people's person. Everybody knows that. But I'm also a technocrat. And that is that's maybe a gift I have. I'm not only a technocrat, but I also love to deal with people and develop people. And if you don't have those two skills, we'll never be able to solve the problems in government. Because you cannot only run government by politics alone. You cannot only run government by the technocrats alone. So that is where Oral, that is where I'm seeing the challenge. And over the last 3 to 4 months, I have shifted totally from the mindset of how do you deal with issues as a politician. And then and of course you talk. My dad has experience, and I have certain experience. Listen, I'm a newcomer in politics, as they call me. I'm the rookie. But don't forget, certain rookies can change a ball club. Certain rookies can change things. But end of the day, a rookie also brings a certain talent with you. And I do think I have that talent, let alone the track record at the port. I agree with you. The track record at the port doesn't guarantee me for being a great politician, but it helps me to become a great politician.
What have you noticed since you made it public that you are now running on the up party list? What have you noticed that surprised you most?
You know, Oral, the things people come by me and they said they support me, and the things I did for people, which I don't even remember, that surprises me. The son of I remember the taxi driver became a pilot. It was a son of a taxi driver at the harbor. He became a pilot. I think Josh was his name. Became a pilot now at the port. The Alex Gums, who started as a I call him a young kid. He's now the CEO of the port. You have the Roger Lawrences. You have the ladies at the port, which cover all angles. But you also have the people in the communities. That was so surprising. Is you know, I wasn't really a Facebook fan. Now I'm a Facebook fan for the last 4 months, and you see the amount of requests and the feedback you're getting, wishing me luck, and also the people you touched over the years. I touched over the years, and I didn't even know it was even going so far. But a lot of those people, they don't have it easy. They're hurting, and what I'm listening. A lot of those people, especially their parents and grandparents, they're hurting. You're hearing that the families are struggling, trying to make ends meet. The parents got older; they've become now elderly. They have difficulties in and it's true, buying groceries, paying the GB bills. Those things are out there, and then you have to give an answer. What is difficult? You're going to have to give an answer or look for a look. When you're at a CEO of the port, you see a situation like that, you either fix it or say no. That's your position. Now, as a politician, you have to think about it. How am I going to look at this? How am I going to solve this? Then you bring in, of course, I have a team there as well. They're going to bring in and ask their advice, because also when you go into politics, there are a lot of rules as well. You know, there's the rules about vote buying, and you know, we get in that a whole other aspect. But looking back at what you're asking me, what was so surprising is the huge support I have out there, and you know, they can jump high or low. People do remember all the successes of the port, but of myself as well, and that in those days people had it better. The economy was in a better shape. Phillipsburg now, which is almost in shambles, was in a much better shape. The store owners, the Indians, they come back. Say, when are we getting the good tourists back? When are we getting the tourists what to spend? When are we getting them back? You know, all of those things you hear, even with the causeway. I mean, you remember we had a lot of critics on the causeway, but you remember the causeway broke down it broke down for maintenance in 2 days, and the traffic was not even moving. So Oral, you know, the feedback has been enormous. But as I'm moving to postulation day, that's a day when you're formal on a list. I have did a lot of pre-work. You saw I also have my own show, Vision of St. Martin. I bring other candidates. I brought Mr. Jesroon the last time on it, and basically he took over my show. But no, that's not and that is my job now. And that is not different to the port, is you bring all different people or all different walks of life together, and you have to look for the right direction and solution. You still need that tool pan to solve those issues. A lot of people underestimate me, say, oh, you're a rookie in politics. I'm not a rookie in politics. I think I've been to Parliament floor more than any other CEO, maybe next to Mr. Lambert from GB, to go and explain all the decisions we made on the floor in Parliament. And let's be honest, I said it many times, I had a lot of questions to answer, but I respected Parliament and answered those questions. So that process I'm not a stranger to that process, but I know as a politician, Mark Mingo is also looking at it from another angle. I also have to calm down, much more. You can't be jumpy at times. My team tell me, listen, you're not CEO anymore. Calm down, take it easy. No, I've learned to also take my time to listen, and also take time to answer. Come with a credible answer. Don't come with a story answer. And you know, let's be honest. In politics, you know what's happening nowadays as well. I'm going to say it straightforward. You have all the offsprings from the older politicians who are actually going to compete this election coming. You know, you have a lot of dads, Marcel Gomes and his daughter. Then you have, I think, De Weaver, Leroy De Weaver and his daughter. And you have Mark Mingo, which is the son of Frank Mingo. You have that is coming. Look, I'm looking forward to that day. I'm looking forward to election, but there's a lot of work to be done. My plans, I'm sharing that as we speak. You know, I spend a lot of time with people out there. It's not easy, but you have to do that. You have to do that and give the listening ear.
In case you've just joined us, I'm Oral Gibbs here on Oral Gibbs Live. My guest is Mr. Mark Mingo. He's now a member of the UP political party in St. Martin. You're listening to us on Hot 99.9 FM radio station or YouTube, Facebook, and TV Carib. When we come back, we'll continue right here on Oral Gibbs Live with Mr. Mark Mingo. Right back, please stay with us.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
My guest here on the Oral Gibbs Live is Mr. Mark Mingo, and if you would like to advertise on Hot 99.9 FM radio station, give us a call, 520-6070. That's 520-6070, and we'd love to have you advertise with us right here on Hot 99.9 FM radio station. My guest, Mr. Mark Mingo, and Mr. Mingo, know that there's so many things happening in St. Martin. You're a dynamic young man. Everybody acknowledged that, you know. But I'm speaking with you, and I had your brother on just recently, and there is this feeling in the community, you know, that here you have two brothers, one that very successful at the port, the other at the airport now, and there seems to be all this constant fighting, you know, and fighting with our own people, something that I know that your family, your father never stood for. How you feel about it? What people say to you?
Look, you know, Oral, I'm glad you brought it up, because usually in a lot of debates or talk shows, they bring it up. Look, I'm not going to be dragged into that tit for tat or make it a political back and forth. What I can answer on that situation is look, the internal part of the airport was never explained technically by the CEO or any board of directors on the show. I already advised, start making more public appearances, start talking more with the public, and making sure they get clarity on the issue. It is regretful, the last incident you had with an employee, and I'm talking to you now as experience as Mark Mingo, as CEO of the port, we had issues with employees as well, that those kind of issues become a public debate or become a public tit for tat, and even now become a political positioning of you know, if we attack Brian Mingo harder, they get to Mark Mingo and then get Mark Mingo to jump on it. No, I'm going to give it to you from a professional point of view, from a right point of view. There is something wrong with the structure at the airport. Let's notate of that, because that structure, that older structure, was also at the port. I've changed that. We went from 2 board of directors to 1 board of directors, and making sure that you had 1 director cross the board. The airport went through different elements, and then you ask me yourself, are you going to blame the CEO who's sitting there right now because there were issues with the delay of the project, or now we got issues with the employees of the airport? Look, that is something he should answer on your show. He's a big boy. He should come and answer and also share those details with you. What I look is at the structure of the airport. And there is an issue, there's something wrong with the structure of the airport. There's a lot of politics being played at the airport. There's a lot of agreements, if no finance agreements or other agreements, crisscross, and the airport should have never been dragged into that political crossfire. And that was even before my brother. I was not the previous CEO of the airport. I know when I left the harbor in Point Blanche that it's still running and have capable people of running. I'm a believer of having locals run a local government-owned company. But I also believe that when decisions are made, and there was a lot of damage at the airport, there was a refinancing at the airport as well. It should have never been a financing or refinancing where you have governments involved in that refinancing.
There's a lot of politics.
So no, you cannot, because the airport was a well-run commercial company. I'm not going to discuss here, should we have chosen a glass building to build in a hurricane belt? I'm not going to discuss it, but I'm not here about giving blame or whatever. But I'm talking here, you asked me the question about the airport. I think what needs to happen, and I said it on previous shows, we need to finish the airport and move on from there. And then in between then and now, I would advise the airport, I'm not saying my brother only, I would advise the airport to focus on finishing the airport and focus on your employee satisfaction ratings. And that is very important for us to move to the next step, because I also have the strategic planning of the airport, which I had from the days of the harbor. We all know that we need a pre-clearance done. We also need the taxi runway done, the turnoff. You remember the issue you had with KLM? The turnoff of the end of the runway, we were busy with that, filling it even in the lagoon. That's part also of the master planning. There are points there which need to be solved. How would I solve that if I get into government? And that is what I didn't address in the first half of the show, is I've requested MP Rolando Bryson to look at a committee of government-owned entities, not only government-owned companies, government-owned entities, to also deal with these technicalities when it comes to running those entities. Because the way how we're going right now, Oral, it is not a healthy situation. If you're not only talking about the airport, but also talking about, for example, the hospital project. And I don't want to go too much into details on that, but something is there structurally not working. And you cannot only blame a CEO. There's also a board of directors. And by the way, the airport has 2 board of directors and two managing directors, which we had in the past at the harbor as well, which brought a lot of unclarities at the harbor.
What I think is that, and a lot of people probably don't know this, your brother was the person responsible for really building the cellular business at TLM.
That's correct.
He started off with that.
Yeah.
That's a very successful record on his part. And I think what I noticed in St. Martin, and I told you about this earlier, politics, and the government of St. Martin does not want qualified people in position, because when you get there, they create all kinds of obstacles for you to frustrate you, and sometimes make people get very angry with you who will not normally or necessarily get angry with you. This is the issue I have with this government of St. Martin, all the governments of St. Martin in the past 25 years. They have focused on outsiders, and only when they need us, the people of St. Martin, our vote, they come to us, and after that day they forget us, and they go right back to giving all the outsiders everything, and we are sitting by the door looking and begging for crumbs. Those days are going to promise you this thing here, Mr. Mingo. It's going to stop, and we're going to play a very important role here in making sure that the people identify those that are BSing and those that are serious. I can say right now, I know your record. I think you're a serious guy. Stay the way you are. I've said this to many politicians. People come in this program, and I've said it to them privately. And after the program, I'll call some names to you. I said to them, when you get elected and you go into office, you're going to change. And they said, no, I ain't going to change, but I'm going to stay the way I am. I said, yeah, okay. So you're a guy who could call, could get in touch with you when you become a minister, MP, it's going to be different. No. You know what? Every one of them changed. Everyone.
Can I answer? Ken, no, I listen to you exactly. I'm listening to what I'm telling you. The difference between all those politicians, except a few, and Mark Mingo as new candidate, I know how to deal with power. I know how to deal with a new environment. I know how to deal with that chair. People do change when they sit on a chair. They do change. But you also have to understand what the chair is about. What are you going to do with it? I'm not doing it for popularity contest. I mean, I've been through it all. I mean, Oral, you know I've been through it all, and you said it right. You also need the right people in there who are not afraid to make decisions. It's very simple. I don't believe if we discuss parties we're choosing and negotiations, most of the politicians who are there now, I don't even think they can negotiate with the Dutch. They hardly could speak the Dutch language. I kept a small little interview in Dutch there are a lot of Dutch voters or Dutch listeners listening to this, but you also got to be able to negotiate. I mean, if I hadn't had the negotiation skills, me maybe would have had Port of Rotterdam running the port in Point Blanche. That didn't happen because it didn't make sense. But we did take the IT system for one of the partners from Port of Rotterdam, for example. Same thing with the airport. Is the question is Schiphol the right party to advise or run the airport? Maybe at that time, yes. I don't know all. Look, we don't know all the ins and outs. But end of the day, a company is built on its employees. And where do we get the employees from? There's only one location you can get employees from. Is actually the local market. I mean, we did it, and that's a whole transformation. Yeah.
I think what you're saying is very correct, you know. But Simratan is so unique. I mean, let me tell you, as a Simratan, someone who loved this island, I can't imagine what we have lost. You know, I'll give an example. All these government-owned companies, I was an advocate for them remaining the property of the people of Simratan. Not anymore. Personally, I think we need to sell them all off. And probably the government will collect probably 2-point-something billion dollars for all of them, and politicians will start to focus on running the country. Because right now, people go into political office, one, to become a millionaire, and two, to control these companies. These are the companies, the government-owned companies. Many politicians go in there, and from day one, it's like they have a handbook. They know everything. And I'm telling you this from experience. I met with 2 or 3 politicians. And when I heard what they were saying, I said to myself, well, how the hell did they know that? They just got in there. But you know what? That's the focus. We get in there, and it's GB, the airport. Tell them that's what we want. That got to stop.
Yeah, well, Oral, then I'm gonna answer you like this. Maybe the integrity chamber should wake up and start looking at these things we're discussing.
Integrity what?
Yeah, no, I want a reaction from you, because me, when I was CEO at a port, I went through all hell back and forth to get that A screening. I've been always questioned. You know, I've been through my case. I'm out of the case. And that is the issue we're having. The people who are trying to make that difference are either being sidetracked or their life is being made a miserable hell. I mean, for example, the airport, I know my brother. My brother is not a person to be, I know him as a brother, not to be woman unfriendly or whatever they are saying out there. But the issue is, a lot of it is driven by politics. And I said it again, to answer that, he himself will have to come on your show and explain your critical questions as well. And you know, I'm not a supporter of privatizing government-owned companies. I'm not a supporter of that, because what I was a supporter of is streamlining those government-owned companies, but having the right people in place. And who measures that? By having that committee of government-owned entities is going to measure the process with the minister on those government-owned companies. And those, look, you was on the board of GB. You left GB. Look today, GB. Is GB doing good? I mean, they have issues. Are they doing good? Nobody knows. I know the electricity hasn't gone off in a while. I don't know if if on the Dutch side or in Sint-Petersburg. But I am not, because we also were in discussion. I know the port was in discussion with a company to take over the operations of the harbor. But don't forget, if you're looking at developing your human resources and you're sending so much people away to study and to come back or not come back or whatever, you still need government-owned companies to stabilize the country.
Well, no,
because there's no cartel, for example, there's no cartel law. There's no cartel law to deal with monopolies. So we have in the private sector, we have monopolies, but then when government-owned companies is a monopoly, there seems to be an issue.
Well, look, you mentioned I was on the JB board for 2 years. That was the assignment, 2 years.
Yeah.
And when the 2 years was up, we left. In that 2 years, the board that I was a part of, Mr. Marlon was chairman. He passed away. There was a time when I was asked to be chairman, and I declined. The thing is that, hey, you have a company that's, I got to like the company and the employees.
Yeah, the employees are great.
importance
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
We had discussions with you at the port at the time, the things that are important, which I won't mention here.
I know I was approached to almost be CEO at the GB. That's what's going on. Yeah, that's true.
It's a lot of
a
things.
lot of things. Yeah.
But the thing is, politicians interfere. One of the reasons why GB is struggling is because of the interference of politicians, and then you have supervisory board members who are afraid, and I am not. And when I told them, well, look what, I am not going to put my signature as a supervisory board member to that proposal that you have there. They said, well, I'm going to fire you. I said, here's my resignation. Here's my resignation. And they declined my resignation. And they stayed on. But the thing is, you need to be able to balance everything. And you can't have these companies that were set up many years ago because the government of Zimbabwe couldn't get financing at the time. So they had these private corporations set up to manage these companies. Let them be managed by competent people. Okay?
But you're correct in that. But Oral, and look, in the past, that used to be checked very thoroughly when I believe when Mr. Heiliger was in power. That was checked thoroughly who was on the board. The competencies of the board are very important. There were huge discussions between government, the board, and myself. You need to have that to improve. But you got to be very careful with also talking about privatizing government-owned companies, because as we speak, the government doesn't have enough funding. The government has shortage of monies. You can't just either go and increase taxes on people. You have to look at the right areas of contributing towards government coffers. The government-owned companies are going to play a very important role in that, but they need to be run efficiently. And they need to be run with you said it right, with less, you'll always have the politics because it's owned by government. Look, even in KLM Air France, you had a lot of politics. You have that. But who manages and keeping politics at bay in a correct manner is competent people. Competent people like you, me. My dad passed on. You have a lot of competent people who are in the communities, who are in St. Martin, who are either semi-retired or retired, and use those people on board of directors. You need them. And be honest, a CEO cannot function without a local board.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm repeating myself, right? A CEO cannot function without a local board of directors.
What you say there, I don't understand.
Okay, you don't understand. Look,
I don't understand.
Look, you cannot have an imbalance on any government-owned companies where you have influence from outside. That is against all rules of good corporate governance.
That's at the airport, right?
That's at the airport. Let's not go. I'm not going to make go in details on that, but that's the issue.
Right.
At the harbor, we also had a Dutch board member, Godfried van der Heuvel, who was representing the Dutch government. But we never allowed that to get an overhand or overtake. But there is a reason for that. The reason for that is you have to also look at all the agreements which were signed before Mr. Mingo. And that maybe is the reason why he's rigid, but I leave he's a big boy. He should come and explain it on your show or other shows and really explain how all of that is going and progress, because there's an issue about, he knows there's an issue on the image of the airport. Come on, they want to market the airport, they want to show that things are progress. I know how it is to sit
Wait a minute,
as a CEO.
They want to do that, but you know what they're saying privately? Not on Oral Gibbs shows. And that, again, is a problem. Let me tell you something, Mr. Mingo.
Well, they should not. Yeah, okay.
They don't have to market. They don't have to advertise on my show. You know what? I don't need their money. I'm here. This is a hobby. This is a hobby. We don't make money here. What we do, we service. We serve the people of St. Martin with honest, clear opinion and information that we know is factual. That's all we do. We are not here looking for the money. So if the airport thinks that they can destroy me by not, good luck, guys. But that, I want to make that very clear, because you said that they're marketing, they're going all over, spending, wasting money all over, but would not throw 1 cent here. No problem. That's all right, man.
No, Aura, look, we we go way back. We there's a responsibility of any government entity to advertise with the local media. You yourself as well, you have a different segment. We had a lot of disagreements, but I never took that personal. And that is how you have to look at things. You are a vital asset to share information to the community. And look at me. For example, you asked me the critical question about the airport by my brother. I'm here to answer them. I'm here to give advice and talk to your listeners. I'm not dodging away from that. But that's also a role of an executive or board member, or anybody who's in power. You got to listen to the critical information, but you have to listen to the critical information.
No, I mean, I had your brother here just about a month ago, so that's not a big.
So maybe he needs to come back and yeah.
But the whole thing is that this small island, people are very, I should say, vindictive, and sometimes they become your enemy not because of what you said or what you did, but who you brought on your show, and that is so crazy. I offend people sometimes just by bringing their enemy on the show, and I don't even know it's their enemy. It's crazy, man.
No, but Oral, look, on St. Martin, I always say St. Martin is a melting pot of Millie, but it's a good side, a good thing and a bad thing. You usually know when something is wrong or somebody's upset with you, and then normally what you have to do, because somebody brings the news to you, pick up the phone and call the person.
Exactly.
Direct.
Exactly.
Say, what I do wrong again? Come on, why you cuss me off? I make a joke sometimes with other people, say, but Jesus, why you treat me like this? Why you doing wrong? Listen, I'm passing by you. Let me talk about this. But that is still part of St. Martin, the St. Martin culture. And you said it yourself, in politics, that is even a bigger role. But listen, as soon as I leave here, maybe after the recording I leave, you're going to hear people say, oh, he was by Oral. But then you laugh, but you start to think you have to listen and take that in. And don't take the critics personal. Go and look for them, discuss it. And St. Martin people are friendly people. They usually, you get cursed off, but they usually, say, okay, I understand, and next time do better and don't play with me or something like that. So that plays a very important role.
Well, the thing is this, basically, Mr. Mingo, I'm here for the people of St. Martin. Over my lifetime, I could have done many things. I've been offered a lot of things by people and money. I decline it because money doesn't change me. And I'm not afraid. I don't become stupid because of money. 2 times in the last 40 years that we've been doing this program, big companies came to me and said, look, we want to make sure buy all the cameras and everything for you. I said, no, thank you. No, thank you. And said, what kind of man you is? We are surprised because that's the kind of person I am, I mentioned the power of the airport. I don't really care about that. What I care about is what you're going to do for the people of St. Martin, because these are my people. They come and they suffer. And I feel bad when I see people suffering. And I understand you as a person. I know what you are. And politics can be very, very brutal. So here you are now, and we have a nice conversation. And look, maybe down the road, something come up, and I'm tough on you. It's not because I don't like you, it's because you're a politician and you're accountable to answer to the people
Correct.
what they said. Basically, that's what it is.
And that's when you come to a critical issue with me, Oral, and that's the difference of the role between a CEO and being an upcoming politician now. You have to listen, you have to analyze it, and give and come with a honest, workable solution. What we have today, what you're hearing today, all the giggling and laughing on talk shows, the ideas which are not even suitable, or you can't even implement them. Those things get to me, and
That's happening on talk shows?
Well, or whatever. I think they were even dancing on Parliament floor. On I don't know if you look at Facebook,
yeah.
but even on talk shows, the issues of the people are not taken seriously, and they feel that because that's what's playing out there. What I'm sharing with your listeners as well is don't be fooled by that. Me as an upcoming politician, as a technocrat, as somebody know what he's doing, I'm also out there to see how politically you can make that difference. And you're going to need both.
Yeah.
It's not one. I also going to need the colleagues and contacts from my dad to see how they think, and their business people as well, how they think and feel you can make that change.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. No, look, we almost out of time, Mr. Mingo. I want to give
Already?
you 45
Okay.
seconds, right, to say whatever you'd like to say in closing.
No, Aurel, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on your show. Having me on your show as a to become a candidate politician, but also to the listeners. Take your time. This time we have time before election is coming. Take your time and really analyze who can fix the issues at hand. There are a lot of issues. Yes, there's the Facebook, there's the social media, but end of the day, it's about your family. How do you develop your family? How do you give your kids a future? And we can jump high or low. If government itself has issues financially, you need to make sure that you're part of the private sector development. Don't only look for handouts of government. Look at the private sector. Look at examples like Oral Gibbs. Look at examples. There's so much of examples out there who can help, give you advice. But you have to listen. But also make sure, Oral, that next election comes about, that the voters come out and really make a landslide difference. Yeah. You did it in the past. You did it in the past with new leaders. So, that is what I would like to say in closing, Oral. I want to thank the listeners and viewers as well. I'm saying listeners and viewers, yeah.
Mr. Mingo, I want to thank you for coming in. I hope you will come back on a Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock for chatting with OG on Hot 99.9 FM radio station. That's a different show.
Yes, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Oral Gibbs.
Thank you. And that's it for now. See you next time. Till then, take care. Bye.